Okay, I am back with part 2 of my 2024 album. Again, using just a bunch of filler cards I had, using my 2024 themed stash to make sure that I use it and that I don't have to throw it away. This is the second volume. I do have a video of part 1 if you would like to take a look at that. But let's just go ahead and jump right in. This album actually covers, I'm hooked. This album actually covers July through December, and starting out with 4th of July week. Okay, so this week I have some flips here, and these were cards, vellum cards from an Allie Edwards kit, and I was trying to figure out how I could use them. So I actually ended up just using my die cutting machine and cutting them into a circle, and I attach them to the photo. You can flip it up to see the full photo, and then you can also read the story for what was happening in those pictures. Again, if you didn't watch my part 1, I use this tape just to hide faces that may not want to be shown on my YouTube channel. So we went to a 4th of July party, so have an insert here for that. Picture of my mom's flower garden. I made my own little tab stickers using an Allie Edwards digital product. My dogs hate fireworks, so we spent the night in the basement, and that kind of talks about what was happening there. This is a 12 by 12 insert that I have in what week would this be? 28. There was a lot of political news happening. Biden advisors were asking him to step down. President Trump was, there was an assassination attempt. So I have large photos of a couple different newspaper headlines, and then also my thoughts here. I do want to mention, normally I would hide these things if they're politically related. My channel will never be a political channel. I don't want that, but I also don't think I should have to hide my feelings on politics and kind of where I stand. I will never try to force my beliefs on you. You have as much right to believe what you want to believe. And I think that that is something that is important, that we all can have differing opinions and still get along. That is something I just kind of want to emphasize. So I'm not going to hide these things, but I'm not going to dwell on them either. So that's all I'm going to say about it. So we can move on. This quote, "I can smell your love," just was kind of a funny thing that I used to say when I would come home. My husband would always have coffee on for me so I could have coffee when I would first walk in the door. I'd get a cup of coffee. I'd sit down at my computer. I'd either work on my computer for a little bit or I'd watch YouTube. And I used to always say that when I would walk in the door, because we come in through kind of close to the kitchen. Our garage is connected to the laundry room, which then connects into the kitchen. And I could always smell the coffee if he had it on. So if he had it on for me, I would always tell him, "I can smell your love." And so, because that was one of the ways that he shows me love, is he would have that ready for me. So picture of the dog. This is another Facebook memory, or maybe a Google Photos memory that popped up, but it was from 2019. It was my son with the dogs. I went to my best friend's daughter. She played t-ball, so I went to her t-ball game. Also added, just kind of made my own filler cards here, which is something that I sometimes struggle with a little bit. So a piece of acetate, and then just a cute little quote card with some stitching there. Again, have it here. Watching the news. We got a ton of rain. My husband's tire almost fell off his car as he was driving down the road. So that was a little stressful experience. Week 29, my son had band camp. That was the first time that they've had a marching band at our school in 20 years. And he joined, and he was driving and, talking about the teaching and learning kind of aspect of, trying to teach him how to drive and him learning to drive. Insert of photos from band camp, more political stuff, went to the movies, had book club. We went out for brunch. This was very much Allie inspired, adding these cute little tags to the outside with Brad's. You can see the journaling. This just shows the rest of the photo. And then I also used this was a 6x4 journaling card. I just cut them out and made them into story cards and just added some more context to the photos. Week 31, again, still using the vellum. This is vellum, this is vellum, vellum. Going to the library. My son had a doctor's appointment. I was making no-bake cookies. These were some of the best peaches I've ever had. I think they were peaches, but they were so good. Garden veggies, again, another Facebook memory. August, my son had band practice. I don't think he's back to school yet here. No, he's not back to school yet. Some things that were happening in the news. I got my friend flowers for her birthday. Text messages. I went to, my dad puts on a car show with people at his church. We went to his car show. So there's some things there. Text messages between myself and some of my son's teachers. Coterie Pizza is one of our favorite pizza places. It's just a local mom and pop shop. And we had that. We went out to dinner with my sister and my nieces and my brother-in-law. My mother-in-law sent me some pictures. Sports Pass. This is talking about going shopping for my son for back to school. He is not picky about clothes. So I actually just usually run to Walmart. He loves flannels and Vans and jeans. So if I can get those 3 things, he is golden. So my niece's volleyball games, my dog. This is back to school insert. So kind of showing what I bought him for school. Back to school night. Volleyball love. Love going to watch her play. This is, again, just talking about that. First day of 10th grade. Normally I add Avery index tabs. I do have a few in here that I don't have on my insert, so I need to go back and do that. Love adding these chipboards. These I think are from Allie Edwards, just to kind of break apart the journaling. It also adds so much interest to that. My son and his, I don't know how many of you have teenage children, but he's not always the most forthcoming when I'm trying to get information out of him, like how his first day of school was. So I had my nieces and my son, obviously, and some friends over. We did a scary movie night at my house the night before they went back to school, so that was a lot of fun. Week 34, went out for my husband's birthday, grocery shopping, picture of the building where I work. This was the marching band's first performance at a football game, and I was sitting up really high, and the picture's blurry, but I don't care. But it's talking about, I captured a picture of my son. They were so proud, and they should have been. He's high-fiving one of his friends as they're coming off the field. So that's what this story is about. And then a picture of my son and my niece at a volleyball game. August looks like this. Lots of volleyball. So that's all volleyball related stuff, band related stuff, going to the library, coffee and books. We have a shooting range at the police department, and I shot a gun for the first time, and it was way scarier than I was expecting it to be. Football games, taking my dog to the vet. Okay, so this was the week leading up to Labor Day, and volleyball pictures. We had people drop off cookies to the police department. This is just kind of an overview of everything that's going on in these photos. During Labor Day weekend, the police department puts on a bike rodeo for the kids in the community, and these are kind of bike rodeo related photos on things that were going on. There was a fire in town that we stopped at on our way to lunch one day. Just things that are so different from my life now versus 5 years ago when I was working at the orthodontist office. So it's one of those things, everything is the same until it's not. So I try to include things that happen throughout my workday. No 2 days are ever the same, but I try to, touch base on it every once in a while. This is actual Labor Day. So these are all things that happened on Labor Day. This, again, is a journaling card where I just really hit an overview of the week. I used a stamp to highlight the days because it kind of just looked like a word wall. So the color there kind of breaks it up to help you, see if you want to see what happened Monday or what happened Sunday, you can see that there. So I got called for jury duty. Well, actually, I got told that I was a prospective juror. I was kind of put in the pool. I had a screenshot from Facebook memory. My husband joined the fantasy league for the fantasy football league, and I just thought it was so funny. He named his team Andy's mediocre team, so I wanted to include that. And then my nephew came over and we went to the park. So those are all photos from the park, taking the dog to the vet. This week I had a ton of photos. So I actually have a 6x8 insert and a 9x12 insert. So dog to the vet, eating dinner. My parents had COVID, so I dropped stuff off for them at their house. This is all football related, and then this is all marching band competition related. I do have QR codes for their performances. Those are private videos, so that's why I have those covered up there. Week 37, CPR class, first day of school in 2012. This is one of my favorite photos of my son because there's so much personality in there. He was so into Transformers, is holding a Transformer. It's just one of my favorite pictures. I think I include it every year in Project Life when it pops up. So, funny story from my dad, on my mom's birthday. So that's told there. My dog will tear every box that she gets. More volleyball, books I was reading, marching band. It was the 9/11 anniversary. I happened to be reading a book. It was a fiction book that was 9/11 based. So I thought that, it just happened to coincide that way. I didn't plan that. My camera roll was full of screenshots of books that I wanted to read. I was really into reading, and I still am, but I really found my love for reading again in 2024. And so this was just, a handful of the ones that I had in my camera roll. Okay, so week 38. This is a photo of our backyard. I take that photo pretty much throughout the year. So it's kind of fun to see it, when it's foggy or snowy or, any of those things. This is a cat door that we have on our basement. Our cat pans and things are in our basement. And so we put this up. I was down there feeding the cats, I think. And when I was walking up the stairs, our little Shih Tzu was kind of peeking under the cat door to see what I was doing. So I thought that was cute. So I snapped a picture, of her. Volleyball stuff. This was day in the life. So I have an overview of what the day consisted of. This was actually a digital kit. So I just printed that digital paper. I also printed this digital transparency. And I think this was one of the chipboard pieces. I just enlarged it and then I added a corduroy brad to it just to add a little bit of decoration. I didn't have a large photo that I wanted to include. But I do have a breakdown of things that happened throughout the day, which is added to the journaling there. So it's just one insert of 3x4 photos. And then this is, again, band photos, lazy, laying around the house photos. This was at the band competition, my son driving, going to the library, my son and my cat, and then a rainbow that I saw. I don't remember if that was on the way to work or where that was, but snapped a picture of that. Week 39, pet pictures, driving pictures. That was really the season that we were in at that time. I went and had lunch at the coffee house and took a book, and it was just, quiet and nice. There was a tornado that went through the town where I worked. It wasn't a large tornado by any means, but it kind of happened right around the time that I was leaving work. And I happened to take a different route home, or I would have driven almost right through it right at the time that it happened. So that is what this story is here. Volleyball, I used these banners to add just different things. Monday was, Tuesday was, Wednesday was, Thursday was, throughout the whole week. I happen to have photos from every day of the week. I don't always have photos from each day of the week. I also should mention, I do not put my photos in, typically I do not put my photos in order. So Monday photos are sometimes over on the side. That does not matter to me. This is kind of just the sum of what the week looked like. I don't need it to be in chronological order. So I have a 6x12, actually I have two 6x12 inserts. This is all volleyball related stuff. This is all high school football related stuff. And then this is all band competition related stuff. We also had a giveaway where I work for some bikes for the kids. Funny story, I found these peppers in my purse that I had forgot that I put in there, and they were all dried out. So kind of funny and kind of gross all at the same time. Lazy Sunday, just those kind of things. Week 40, this was another week where I kind of just used a similar card spread throughout. These are actual Polaroid frames, and then I typed my journaling to fit within that box. I used the same stamp on repeat, and I actually happened to have the right amount of stories to go with the right amount of cards, these Polaroid cards, and so I decided I definitely needed to use them. So screenshot of my son's report card, going to the library, going to a bonfire. These were all work-related stories. This talks about these band kids and how hard they worked and how it was new for everyone and just how proud I am of each and every one of them. So this insert is all about those band kids. This is all volleyball related, and then just more fall related photos and just things that happened around the house. Week 41, I met my niece for breakfast, son's driving, Studio Calico announced that they're closing, which I am still gutted about. Chiropractor appointment. My dad came over to change the battery on our Jeep. More volleyball related stuff, football related stuff. This is when the Northern Lights were like, they seemed like they were happening quite a bit, and I miss them every time. So my son and I actually went out to try to see them, and because my sister sent me a picture saying that they were seeing them where she lived. So we thought we might, have the opportunity to see them. Did not. Saw the screenshot the next day, thought it was hilarious. So I added it in there. Things we were watching, things that we were eating, football stuff. Week 42, fall Project Life products are my absolute favorite of any product that's released. So I love using them in my Project Life. I don't know what it is about them, but I absolutely love them. So this is, again, fall related stuff. Freezing in my house. We had to turn our heat on. Dog loving the weather. My husband and son out at work. More fall related, just, stuff. Volleyball, it was sectionals. They got second place. My niece's team did, which was awesome. I used a lot more digitals this year than I ever have. This was actually from the fan story kit. Both of these are, but I recolored them to work with these fall themed colors. Week 43, like I said, we live in a woods. We have a ton of leaves, so that's a really big part of our fall. Again, more fall related pictures. Week 43, I only had enough for one 12 by 12 spread, but then week 44, I had a lot more photos. So this was the week of our anniversary, and we're obviously working out in the yard still, lots of yard related photos. I have an overview of just things that we did that week. And then we also went away for the weekend. So we rented a cabin, and these are just photos from our trip and where we went and things that we saw. There was a local scrapbook store in this town, and I did not know it. I happened to stumble across it when we were in the downtown area shopping, and oh my gosh, it was like the best thing ever. So I had to take a picture. It had to be included. So this is just an overview of our trip, and then just a funny story about a place that we went for breakfast. Week 45 was election week. I was also buying gifts for the police department Christmas party that was going to be coming up, marching band awards, going to the car wash again. I have so many car wash photos because I'm embarrassed to tell you how long I went without ever going to a car wash. But where I park at work, there are birds that just poop all over my car. So I have to go to the car wash a lot. So that is what that story is about. I took a day off work and was able to pick my son up at school. Again, everything is the same until it's not. He's driving now. So that is something that I don't want to say I'll never have to do again because, there's always a possibility, but it is not something, that is foreseeable or part of our routine anymore. The election stuff, week 46, still working on leaves. I went and got my hair cut. We do not have a Starbucks anywhere near us. I think the closest one is like 30 minutes away. At least 30 minutes away. So always go to Starbucks when I get the chance. Week 46, again, only had enough photos for one 12 by 12. Week 47, same thing. At this point, I was really starting to mix in a lot, stash. So this is an old Kelly Perky. I think it was a paper person card, but that's a paper person card. Again, I did the same thing with the journaling. I had a lot of photos. A lot in the context of they filled up almost this whole 12 by 12. So I'm very journal focused, and I really want to make sure that I cover, because we do pull these albums out. Like This is November 11th through November 17th. So when we get to this week this year, a lot of times we'll pull the album off the shelf and be like, I wonder what we were doing last year at this time. And so while I can get a lot of context from the photos themselves, the nitty-gritty details are really in the journaling. So that is why I always want to make sure I have an overview. I did the same thing I did earlier where I kind of broke the word wall up with colors that coordinated with the products that I was using. Did the same thing for week 47. Week 48 was, I believe, Thanksgiving week. Yes. So Thursday we were with my husband's family, and then I think it was Sunday. Yeah, Sunday my family came to our house. We had band related stuff, put the Christmas tree up, just, you know, lounging on the couch with my computer and the dogs. Just some bullet point journaling there. Week 49, we're rolling into December, so the Christmas product is starting to come out. Again, this was another story that I wanted to tell, but it's not really private, but I wanted to tell it, but I didn't want to have a lot of focus on it. So that I used a piece of vellum on that. Schedule for the pep band that my son was playing in at basketball games. Lots of chipboard on this one. And just, one thing I didn't mention is I do use quite a few stamps on my Project Life. So this is a stamp here. The So Great is a stamp. The Absolute Best that's on there. The 49 is an alphabet stamp. I think that might be all the stamping I have on this one. But I stamp on the journaling cards. I also add it to my photos from time to time too. So week 50, I used, Allie Edwards has a lot of these numbered chipboards, and sometimes I don't have enough. So I think there were 10 in this one. Were there 10? Yes, there were 10. So I really wanted to use them because I hate to use like 1 through 7. And then what do I do with 8, 9, and 10? So if I'm going to use them, I want to use them all at once. So I added them to the photos that I wanted to add more journaling about. And then I created this. This is a digital page, and it was from the Remember Story kit. And then I used some dies to add the numbers 1 through 10. So they go with the photos. So story 10 is here, story 9 is there. And that was just something that I wanted to, you know, use. If I was going to use the product, I wanted to use all 10. Week 51, band concert. My husband and I went Christmas shopping. We took a day off work to go Christmas shopping, and just more, you know, of the magical details of Christmas. Week 52 is Christmas week, and I used a digital template from Allie Edwards to add photos in. I usually have quite a few photos from Christmas. So Christmas Eve, kind of what we did, our neighborhood does a luminary tradition every year where we put out luminaries. So this is, you know, a look at them before it got dark, and then what it looked like when they were all lit up at night. This was Christmas morning at our house. This was Christmas morning at my parents' house, and just different things that were happening then throughout the week that maybe aren't Christmas related stories. So I cleaned carpets, which I can't ever get over how dirty the carpets look. Like sometimes they don't even look that dirty until you start cleaning them, and then you can see the definition, and it's just, you know, just one of those things. Movies that we were watching over the week, it was so wet and muddy. So those are dog prints coming into our house. Thankfully, we have an area where we can kind of corral them to get them cleaned up. Christmas favorites. So, you know, what were our favorites for, you know, gifts that we received. And then this is just things from New Year's Eve. So that wraps up this second part of my album, or of my Project Life, I guess I should say. So I just want to thank you for watching. If you have any specific questions about, you know, certain pages, product related, or questions on how I did something, I mean, it's pretty straightforward. But if you have questions, you know, if you see something and you want to know if it was digital or how I did that, or, you know, just anything in general, I always appreciate any comments or any feedback. So please don't hesitate to drop a comment, and I will be back soon with another video. I am going to record a flip through of my creative journal and just kind of talk a little bit about that. I could not do this project the way that I do it without my creative journal. And so it's a big part of this project, even though it's kind of a completely separate, you know, entity on its own. So again, thank you so much for watching, and I will be back again soon. Bye.